He never imagined that the woman he helped in the pouring rain, wearing tattered clothes and holding a crying baby, was actually the CEO of the company that had rejected his job application just days earlier, and when she later stood before him in an elegant suit, revealing who she truly was, his world turned upside down, not because of her wealth or status, but because of what she said next. "You didn't just help a stranger, Daniel, you changed my faith in people." But let's go back to where it all began. Into the rainy night that tested a man's kindness and a woman's faith and love. The rain poured like the heavens were grieving. Daniel clutched his old umbrella, half broken from years of use, as he hurried home from another failed job interview. His shoes squelched with water, his jeans soaked, and his heart heavier than his soaked wallet. Being a single dad wasn't easy, not when your 5-year-old daughter, Emma, asked, "Daddy, will Santa bring me crayons this year?" and you didn't know if you could even afford milk tomorrow. Daniel had been an architect once, talented, passionate, until the accident. The one that took his wife's life and left him raising Emma alone. The bills piled up, the dreams faded, and the world moved on, but he didn't. Every night, he drew small houses for Emma, saying, "Someday, I'll build our home." That night, as he crossed the empty street near the park, he saw her, a woman sitting on the sidewalk, shivering under the rain. Her hair was drenched, her hands clutching a baby wrapped in a thin blanket. She looked fragile, lost, and exhausted. Without hesitation, Daniel ran toward her. "Hey, are you okay? You'll get sick sitting here." The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes, deep brown and full of pain, met his. I don't have anywhere to go," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel didn't ask questions. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. "Come on. There's a cafe nearby. You and the baby need warmth." At the cafe, he bought her tea and a sandwich, using the last few dollars in his pocket. The woman introduced herself as Maya, saying she had recently moved to the city after escaping a bad relationship. Her baby, Noah, was only 8 months old. Daniel listened quietly. He didn't pry, didn't judge, just listened. And for the first time in a long while, Maya felt safe. As Emma slept later that night in their small apartment, Daniel let Maya and her baby sleep on the couch. He watched them from the doorway, the baby peacefully breathing, Maya curled up beside him, and thought, if this were my wife and child, I'd hope someone would do the same. Days turned into weeks. Maya insisted on helping around the house, cooking, cleaning, even watching Emma when Daniel went job hunting. She was gentle, caring, and carried a quiet strength that Daniel admired. Emma adored her. "Daddy, can Maya stay forever?" she'd ask innocently, and Daniel would just smile, but behind Maya's warm smiles and kind eyes, there was something she wasn't saying. Each time Daniel mentioned applying for new jobs, she grew strangely quiet. She often asked questions like, "Would you help someone even if they had lied to you?" Daniel would chuckle. "If their heart's in the right place, yeah. We all have reasons for what we do." And that answer always made her eyes glisten, like she was holding back tears. Then one morning, Daniel received a call that changed everything. A company he had applied to, Hartwell Designs, wanted to meet him again. He'd been rejected before, but they said the director personally requested a re-evaluation. Excited, Daniel put on his only suit and went. When he entered the tall glass building, his heart raced with hope. He couldn't believe it. Maybe, finally, life was turning around. But when he stepped into the boardroom, his heart froze. Standing there, dressed in an elegant navy blue suit, was Maya, not the struggling mother he'd helped, but Maya Hartwell, CEO of the company. The air in the room went cold. Daniel stared at her, speechless. The same woman who had slept on his couch, who had cooked dinner with Emma, who had told him she had nowhere to go, now stood before him with confidence and grace. "Maya," he breathed. She smiled softly, but her eyes were heavy with emotion. "Daniel, please sit down. I owe you an explanation." The boardroom was silent as she spoke. "I wasn't lying about the baby. Noah is mine. But I wasn't struggling, not the way you thought. I was testing something. You see, our company is launching a foundation that helps single parents. But I didn't want numbers or statistics. I wanted to understand what it feels like to be desperate, to be alone, to depend on kindness." Daniel's throat tightened. "So, all this time, you were testing me?" She lowered her gaze. "At first, yes. But then, it stopped being a test." Maya's voice trembled as she continued. "When you helped me without expecting anything, When you gave your last dollar for someone you thought was a stranger, you reminded me of what humanity really means. You reminded me of who I wanted to be. Daniel sat quietly. A storm of emotions, betrayal, confusion, compassion, swirled inside him. He wanted to be angry, but when he saw her eyes shimmer with tears, his heart softened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You didn't deserve that deception. But I couldn't forget what you did for me and my son. That's why I called you here today, to offer you a position. Not out of pity, but because this company needs people like you, people with heart." He stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he said, "You didn't need to test anyone to know what kindness looks like. You just had to feel it." Maya's eyes met his, and for the first time, she smiled, genuinely. "Then let me make it right." Months passed. Daniel became the lead architect for the company's new project, The Haven, a housing initiative for single parents. Maya and Daniel worked side by side, late nights filled with laughter and quiet glances they didn't yet dare to name. Emma grew closer to Noah, calling him her baby brother. And slowly, between blueprints and bedtime stories, something deeper blossomed, not from wealth or sympathy, but from mutual respect and unspoken care. One evening, as they stood at the construction site watching the sunset over the newly built homes, Maya turned to Daniel. "You know," she said softly, "when I first met you, I wanted to test hearts. But yours taught mine how to heal." Daniel smiled, tears glinting in his eyes. "And you showed me that even broken dreams can build beautiful things again." The camera would fade out on that scene, the orange glow of dusk reflecting off the houses they built together, children playing, laughter in the air, a symbol of how kindness, truth, and forgiveness can rebuild lives.